Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here going live. Hope you guys are well this Monday morning. Hope you had a great 4th of July weekend. Um, and let's move on. So, Monday, we usually take a few minutes to let you guys gather and chat about a few things. So, latest article I did today, wrote it yesterday and today, is about a study that I found on Nick Behringer's page. In fact, I will share it with you. But basically, it's about gut health, basically what you are eating and how it affects your sleep. Nothing, I would say, groundbreaking on this one. I just think good, sound advice for when you do eat, what you eat, and remember there are some very important pieces if you want to have longevity and if you want to be performing optimally physically and mentally to address your nutrition and your sleep. Those are by far number one and number two of our recovery system. A lot of people spend money on a variety of things that if they would just fix their sleep and their nutrition, they would probably have 95 to 100% of their recovery from stress and workouts and you name it, life taken care of. And um, the mastery of recovery, which is eating and sleeping properly, is what you need for longevity and what you need for optimal performance. In fact, I've done a couple of podcasts with um, Nick Behringer on this topic and Jeff Nichols on this topic as well. And uh, I just want to show you Nick's Instagram page because if you haven't seen it yet, it's a really good thing that he is doing. It is basically he takes this is Nick's page here. He takes studies and breaks them down for you. And this one, he just did the same thing with what you eat, when you eat, and how it could be sabotaging your sleep. So I took that, ran with it, and made an article on the topic. And it is basically, let me just share the key points to it. So, stimulants, caffeine, nicotine, you want to avoid those in the afternoon, evenings, unless you're staying up all night. It's going to jack up your sleep. Um, Foods you should avoid ultra processed foods at night, high sugar, high fat contents, chemical additives, all those things. Stimulants, obviously, just mentioned that. Spicy foods, sugary foods should go down. And there's an old saying um, that is conventional wisdom, but I think this is a great thing. Overeating or choosing rich fatty foods before bed slows down digestion, increases the likelihood of gastrointestinal discomfort and reflux. There's an old saying, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper, is conventional wisdom that science agrees with for avoiding obesity and sleeping better. A lot of people eat too big before bed and have a hard time going to sleep. A lot of people don't eat enough, have a hard time going to sleep. So it works both ends of that spectrum. But here's what you should do real quick. Foods rich in fiber, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, things like that, great for gut health. Probiotic rich foods, yogurt, sauerkraut, if you like that stuff. I like yogurt. Highly recommend yogurt. Helps you with sleep hormones. Foods rich in magnesium and potassium, nuts, almonds, green leafy, bananas, avocados. Those are good. Omega-3 fatty acids, also very good. Fish oil supplements, fatty fish, salmon, things like that. So, but food isn't the only thing that jacks up your sleep or helps you sleep. Keeping your room cool, dark, and quiet, that's helpful. Something I do is I just put earplugs in, and it's really helpful. I can hear myself breathe, and I am out in minutes. I put my head on the pillow. Adjust water consumption, even. I know it says you need to hydrate, but if you're doing it too close to bedtime, chances are every 3 to 4 hours you're going to be waking up and peeing, which could definitely screw you up. But anyway, check out the article as well as his webpage for other studies that are very helpful with a variety of things that are going to make you better and are going to make you smarter. So, all right, let's move on. Let's take some questions. Looks like I don't have any questions over here on. Oh, wait, let me see. I don't have any questions over here on YouTube yet, but got a ton over here on Instagram. So let's talk. If I'm trying to drop weight, currently doing your 6 week intermediate program. What's up, C Ray, over there on YouTube? It does work. Thanks. Currently doing 6 week intermediate program with cals and cardio is 1,500 calories too aggressive of a cut. I'm 5'6", 165. I mean, it is. I mean, without nutritionist or dietitian advice, I would say yes. For most men, keep it at 2,000. Work out a little harder. Next thing you know, you're in a calorie deficit. But it does vary depending on your sex, depending on your weight, things like that. But the reason why I would say 1,500 is pretty aggressive is if you're not on top of it, there are definitely vitamins, minerals, energy that you are missing out on if you're not careful. Like you could be not eating enough magnesium and potassium or vitamin B or it's just little things like that that a nutritionist would be able to look at your diet and say, "Oh yeah, you need to add this." Do I write LORs? Somebody asked. Letters of recommendation. Yes, but I don't do them for people I don't know. I actually need to know you. So people who, train with me here locally, people I know because they live in my neighborhood, things like that. Um, I will write letters of recommendation, but I need to meet you before I do that. I need to see you train before I do that. So that's how it works. Just wanted to mention something, random gentleman. I recently picked up lassoing and is a hell of a workout. Huh. I really feel like John Marston when I wear my outfit. I don't have a horse, though. Hey, that's pretty cool. Man, I think that's pretty cool, man. Um, how you a person get to work out with you? How? Um, Go to heroesoftomorrow.org and check out our schedule. I update that website every week. And I just realized that I need to update it today as well because it's 4th of July schedule in there. Need to make changes to it because we're not doing a 4th of July thing. So I am updating it right now, actually. So yeah, heroesoftomorrow.org. It'll take you to a page that explains what our program's all about and how it works and how you can join us. So yeah, easy day. Let's see what else we got. Just graduated boot camp and did day one workout of your PST phase one and have definitely fell back on my run times. Yeah, that happens. I wouldn't sweat it too much. You'll get back in shape here soon. So no sweat. But congrats, finishing boot camp. Not the most fun thing to do, but it's good to be done with it for sure. Um, let's see. You guys got any more questions over here? All right, let me see what we got over here. All right, so how much protein macros do you recommend consuming? Just minimal intake, like zero 0.9 grams per kilogram per day, or around 1.6 grams per kilogram a day, like during heavy lifting, or even more around 2.2 kilograms a day during cutting season. Um, I'm I'm somewhere in the middle of all that. I'd say personally for me, I'm at that 1.8 2.0 range. Um, just have enjoyed that level of protein forever. Um, but it really kind of depends. It depends on your size, depends on your goals. Um, I don't really have a recommendation, to be honest with you. I have what I do. What you do may be different, but if long as you're understanding that you need to maintain a certain level of protein in your body, that's extremely important. And you can then judge how you perform and how you recover by that knowledge. So if point 0.9 isn't enough, then you need to pump up those numbers, make it 1.5 maybe or a little more. So, yeah, that's my recommendation to consuming protein, carbs, and fat for that purpose. Let's see. Sleep is key. Yes, it is, Joseph. We do it every day, just like breathing? Do you prefer the thumbless monkey grip when doing pull ups, or do you wrap your thumb around the bar? You know what? I do both. I like this way. Like the other day, we did over 200 pull ups. If I'd have done it this way, my forearms probably would have blown up, and I probably wouldn't have been able to hold on to the bar as much. It's just something that occurs to me, especially at 200 plus pounds doing pull ups. But if I do this, like this mountain climber grip, I call it, like you're rock climbing, um, I can hold on a lot longer and it doesn't tire my forearms as much. So I like to do both. I like this because it does, if you hold it like this, it really does work the forearms, which I like. And it's somewhat easier to get your chin over the bar versus this way. I like this way because I can do more reps. Kind of up to you. Well, I don't think my body can absorb more than 40 grams of protein per meal. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe have a snack or two that can pump up those numbers if you need it. If you don't need it, then don't worry about it. What's the first book you wrote and what year was it? You know what? I don't even have a copy of it. It was the Complete Guide to Navy SEAL Fitness, and I wrote it in 99. 98. I got out in 90, end of 98. So I got out like January of 99 and that book was done. And have been working out and writing about it ever since, pretty much. You know, and wanted to create programming around not just SEAL stuff, but military, law enforcement, firefighter. Back when I started, um, Nobody called it tactical fitness. Um, I called it military, law enforcement, and firefighter fitness, which didn't really go too well. I called it first responder fitness, but now tactical fitness, that was the thing. And then when I heard that phrase, I wrote the book. That was the first fitness book I bought. Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. The neat thing about that one, when I look back at it, is I kind of wrote it for my history. So this is kind of what I did to prepare for buds, and I took a strength, power, land athlete and turned myself into a muscle, stamina, endurance athlete using that system. And I did that a lot with people I coached as I was writing it, and coached, probably a couple hundred people before I actually wrote the book, and they were all successful getting through. So, still a good workout book. I just probably would write things a little differently now after 26 years of coaching and training. Um, they're useful workouts. I'm not knocking them, saying that they're old and outdated. Um, I'd just probably do it a little bit differently. Maybe I'll not do 1,000 reps of abs and push-ups, though it was hard. It was more a mental challenge. Let's see what else we got over here. Talking about boot camp definitely wasn't fun. I'm currently planning on crossing over to Spec War SO from my current rate as an IS, and will take about 2 years. What do you recommend I do to get in shape? Just what you're doing. You got the book. There might be other websites. You got the program. I start with the PST and then start prepping for buds with phase 2 and 3. Um, somebody asked, is heroes.tomorrow.org training me? I don't know. Let's see. I don't put a dot in the middle of it. Heroes.tomorrow.org. Yep, that's not a website. So it's heroesoftomorrow.org is me. And it will take you to my website and our page that I just updated, by the way. Yes, heroesoftomorrow.org. All right, somebody says, hey, Stu, in May of 2024, you wrote an article, Quitting Caffeine, a Worthy Challenge. Are you still caffeine free a year later? Man, coffee is hard to quit, but I know that I have to quit it eventually. You know what? I don't think you need to quit it. What I do is this. I was zero caffeine for, I'd say, probably 6 months. Yeah, probably about 6 months, because I wrote that after having some history in it. And then my dad had a stroke. He was in the hospital. I was there all day, working all day. Just my life was really hectic. And I went back to caffeine. I was like, I'm falling asleep driving home. I need something. Um, so went back to caffeine, but I didn't do much. I would have something in the morning just to kind of help me wake up a little bit. And usually it was after a workout, have a little caffeine. But I have since probably March or April of this year gone back to that zero caffeine world, and decaf tea, um, and water and milk. So, yeah, I like it. I personally like it, but I will have some tea in the morning, regular caffeinated tea in the morning. sometimes, but it just depends on how well I slept. What's your view on intermittent fasting? 19 hours fast, 5 hours eating window as a weight loss tool. I think it's a weight loss tool. There's a lot of ways to create a caloric deficit. You could do it by eating every meal as normally scheduled, just have smaller portions. You could do it by blocking out time and say, I'm not going to eat while I sleep for 8 hours, and then I have to wait another 10 or 11 hours before I can eat. That's fine too. Um, some people eliminate a macronutrient, say no more carbs, which I don't recommend. Some people do it with no fat, which I don't recommend. So, a lot of ways to get that caloric deficit, and that's the goal. Is delaying breakfast better, at least mentally, since it makes you feel like a hungry wolf to go to do work, or at least just coffee rather than breakfast like a king to avoid laziness due to food? Good question. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I have felt lazy in the morning due to food. Whether I eat like steak and eggs and get to work, I'm pretty much a morning person. That's me. Now, after lunch, if I do that big old meal, I'm ready to take a nap. And yeah, I remember going to Chipotle, grabbing a burrito bowl, and just just couldn't move, um, and just took a nap. So I mean, those are things that tend to happen to me. Big meals at night do the same thing. I'm just kind of groggy. Something I like to do is kind of eat moderately for lunch and eat moderately for dinner, but then go do something after lunch and dinner. Walk my dog, do an afternoon workout, something like that. And that seems to help me wake up more than caffeine, more than eating small or whatever. Hope that makes sense. Let's see. Stu Smith, I used your program Prep for Buds in 2009. All right, Steve, appreciate it. Let's see here. What else we got? Looks like I have answered all the questions from you guys. Yep. If you guys have questions, send them. Trying to figure out what we talk about. I had a couple other questions that I wanted to share. Let's see here. So yeah, for that Heroes of Tomorrow program, we do a 6 a.m. workout Monday through Saturday, couple of different locations, and we do a 3 p.m. swim workout. Um, yep. So that's how it works. Let's see. You guys got any questions for me? Would you be interested in an interview for an LOR for an SW candidate? Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't do interviews. I need to see you, meet you, work out with you, do the PST if that's what we have to do. But people who come to me are looking, I want to make sure if I'm writing a letter recommendation for somebody that they are going to do what they tell me they can do. Crush a PST, great. 4 mile timed run, great. So that's who I limit my letters of recommendation for. Besides, nobody wants to read a letter of recommendation from someone who doesn't know you, really know you. right? I remember being on those boards and we saw an admiral who interviewed a guy on the board, and it was an okay letter of recommendation. One of the guys on the board knew the admiral, called him up and said, "Hey, how do you know this guy? We're cutting hairs on this board. Got a few guys that are all about the same person. How do you know him?" He goes, "Well, I just had a coffee with him one day and had a gave him a few questions and listened to his answers. So basically, had an interview with him." Um, so everybody on that board was like, "Yeah, he doesn't really know him." The other guy had letters from a coach in college, had letters from a teacher, letters from a preacher, things like that that stood out to us on a board that um, seemed to weigh a little more. So don't be caught up with having to get somebody from NSW to write letters of recommendation if you don't know any. I think I started following you on email around 2003. It's been a great 20 years. Love your content. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I enjoy doing it. This is fun for me. You know, Somebody asked me if I had a choice of doing anything, for a living, um, that I could do. If or like I think they asked it like if you could go back and rewrite your life, what would you do? And I honestly said nothing. I enjoy my life right now so much. I enjoy being a coach. Yes, I enjoy being a CEO while I was in my 20s. You know, be honest with you, I didn't have the level of commitment to serve for 20 plus years like a lot of people do. Actually, not a lot of people. I think it's like 17% that actually serve 20 plus years in the military. Um, but yeah, looking back, I would do exactly. I mean, I probably would have invested in Apple a little sooner, but silly things like that. But that's it. Thank you. Just back this week from recovering shin splints. Went 3 weeks without running. Did 8x400s with squats and lunges. Should I stay under 10 miles this week? Yeah, I would. Especially if you have shin splints, legit shin splints. If your shins are just achy, that's a different situation. But if you have shin splints and it hurts, or it hurt at one point to run, you could feel it when you walked, then I would probably limit my mileage. But it also depends on how many miles you were doing. If you were at 50 miles, yeah, I probably wouldn't do 50 miles. I'd probably cut it in half. But if you're only at 20, yeah, sure. 10's sufficient. Let's see here. After 2 months of using fins, I can now swim a mile without any pain. What is the next step? How to improve my technique, and should I send a video finning? Absolutely. Send a video into finning. I'm happy to look at it. Um, yeah, you need to use your hips, work those hip muscles, and power through the water. And the goal is see if you can get a comfortable pace of a yard per second. That's it. Same as without fins, a yard per second. You can do a 500-yard swim in 8:20. That's great. If you can do a 500-yard swim with fins in 8:20, 8 minutes, let's say, that's going to be a 16-minute 1,000. It's going to be a 32-minute 2,000. It's going to be a 64-minute 4,000, which every week you're going to take a 4,000-yard swim, also known as 2 nautical mile swim, in the open water with those big scuba fins on. So my advice is build up to 2 miles and try to get it in under 70 minutes. As a former Navy ROTC high school instructor, I recommend taking at least 1 year junior ROTC to get a taste of military environment. Try to go on field trips to military bases and see what the program offers. Yeah, I agree. I think that's great. I other programs too out there like Sea Cadets or um, Devil Dogs. I guess the Junior Marines, and I always forget the Air Force one. um, Dang, somebody had to remind me last time what it was. I called it Air Cadets, but it was not that. Anybody remind me what the Air Force version is? You can actually become a pilot. So, yeah. Civil Air Patrol. Thank you, Tom. I knew you'd come through. Dang, put it in my memory. But yeah, all those I think are great ways to get tastes of military life before you make a decision after high school. Because it should be more than just, I don't have anything else that I can do, so I'm going to join the military. You should have a calling to join the military, right? Or at least know what you're doing by joining the military. You should know that, all right, I need some skills. I need to learn something, and I'm going to go to college after on the GI Bill. Nothing wrong with that. Millions of people do that. Um, and I think it's a great way to build our society as well. So put a little discipline in there and go in there and do college a little bit later and have some fun. Learn something. What does your diet consist of day to day? What does your breakfast, lunch, and dinner look like? Man, you really want to know that? Um, all right. So I have one of these. This is what I use. It's my desk calendar, but every day has every day has its own little column, right? So, um, eggs and tea for breakfast. Afterwards, I had um, beef and potatoes, which basically was like steak and hash browns. Um, had a snack of nuts and a banana, and ate a small lunch of uh, peanut butter and banana, and then had fish, salmon, and vegetables for dinner, and had a little milk before I went to bed. Nothing fancy. And I'm pretty, if you keep a diary like this, you can look back and say, "Oh man, no wonder I felt like crap. I didn't eat worth a dang 2 days ago and yesterday." Right? So I do a lot of boiled eggs. In fact, you can buy them boiled. So I bought this. Who makes this? Blue Sky. So it's a Blue Sky calendar. It's got the calendar in it, as well as each day has its own um, little way to. So my regular to do list, and then I have the flip the page, and I just write down what I eat, and then I keep track of all my workouts as well. Not in here, but just online, and so I can look at what I did, how I ate, how I slept, and then say, man, I crushed that workout. And I can look back 24 hours and say, so here's my formula. If I want to really do well, I need to eat well. I need to sleep well. I need to carb up before a workout. Usually I'll do some honey before a workout, and I bring some honey with me just in case I'm starting to bonk. So, yeah, there you go. Hope that it's kind of boring, but get in the habit of good food, and next thing you know, you're going to be crushing stuff. Hey, in your opinion, what are the main considerations someone should have when deciding going enlisted or officer? I just had this conversation this morning. Um, it's kind of up to you. And Here's the thing. Like in hindsight, I could not have that decision to go enlisted unless I quit the Naval Academy and enlisted there. So I kind of use the enlistment option like a plan B. So let's say I get kicked out of Naval Academy for me doing something stupid or failing something and just never was able to recover from it. I get kicked out. I'm enlisting, going to buds. That was my plan B, to be honest. However, if Navy is paying for your college through ROTC or service academies, you don't have a choice. You're going officer. Um, OCS a little bit different, right? You go through college, you you have a choice. Do you want to go officer? Do you want to go enlisted? Here's the cool thing about it is that you can enlist, and I recommend people enlisting, even with a college degree, um, because they can go do the job. Now you want to be really crushing everything that is about buds. I mean, you don't want to go in there and be not physically capable of crushing it, because your options after that are going to suck. Um, Perhaps. I mean, there are some good jobs in the Navy too, but usually when you fail something, you're going to get placed in a needs of the Navy situation. And what jobs do most commands need? Typically not the ones people volunteer to go do. So you may not enjoy that option. Same for officer, though. I mean, you're probably going to, if you fail out of buds as an officer, I've seen a few opportunities where people were able to go pilot, um, but that's rare. Most times they go into the surface fleet. Um, some smart guys have, people who were really smart have gone on to do nuclear engineering and on subs or aircraft carriers, things like that. So you have options. That may be a plan B that way too. But the big answer that you're looking for is it's really up to you. Do you want to do all the tactical activities and learn, you know, to expert level of sniper or communications or medic? All of those are great enlisted jobs. The world of drones is going to be getting placed into this spec ops world here immediately. Um, that's an opportunity for growth in that arena, primarily for the enlisted guy. Probably everybody's going to be involved somehow, but the officer is the guy that has a little bit of knowledge of all those things and how to deploy them. However, you're also taking care of everybody. You're in charge. The mission doesn't go well. Who are they going to blame? The officer. So if that's you and you like that kind of responsibility, um, go for it. I don't think you need to be prior enlisted to be a good officer. I've seen both. I've seen great officers come out of the academy and ROTC units and OCS guys with no enlisted experience. And I've seen bad ones, but I've also seen the same for guys that were prior enlisted. So, yeah, it's kind of up to you. What do you feel like doing mostly? The best thing about it, if you have the option, that means you could do both. And there's nothing wrong with that. Does non-impact cardio, bike, or elliptical count towards your weekly mileage if done at 10 minutes equals 1 mile? No, I do not count it as running mileage. When I count running mileage, I am putting my feet on pavement, grass, turf, treadmill, whatever. Those are running miles. Non-impact cardio miles are non-running or rucking miles or time. So usually if I'm skipping a run, let's say I'm missing 2 miles today. because I didn't do all the hills that we ran today. So I owe 20 minutes of non-impact cardio. I may do that additional 20 minutes in the pool. I may hop on the bike for 20 minutes, whatever, but I'm going to make that up, and it does not count as running. It counts as cardio time in place of missed mileage. Just saw a video for One's Ready saying the AFSOC is doing away with the water portion of ANS. Interesting. Well, it's going to be somewhere, especially if you're going to be a PJ. So I'm not sure not sure where it's going, but it's going to be part of your training. If you're going to be a PJ, you still need to do the water portion. Prepare for all those pool skills because it's coming, whether it's dive school or it's their own selection process. As far as overhead strength for boats and logs in buds, is there a specific exercise that you would recommend doing to be prepared, like overhead press for body weight percentage for a certain rep? No, I don't think you need to worry about body weight percentage lifts. My advice is this. Yes, it helps to be strong, but you know what's more important? Still need to be strong, but you don't need to be 1 rep max strong overhead press. You need to be doing this hundreds of times. So it is more a stability factor with good shoulder health. Lightweight shoulder workouts is a great one. Reverse flies, just build some stability in that shoulder joint. Then get the reps in. Overhead presses, push presses. Usually we do about 50 pounds overhead press, but we do a lot of reps. So we do a workout that's similar to the Murph, like you do 100 pull-ups, but you're also going to do 100 push press or, sandbag carries over your head. That's what I would do. Lots of reps. And then anytime you're doing an overhead press, your 10th rep or 12th rep, whatever you're doing, hold that there for a minute with the weight. Hold it for a minute, and that alone is going to help you. When you're doing lunges, do an overhead, one hand overhead, carrying a dumbbell while you do lunges. Change hands. When you're doing squats, do an overhead squat. I mean, all of those things are going to help you build a stronger shoulder and core to be able to do what you're going to be doing under the logs and boats. That's what we do in our lift cycles. Let's see. I live in difficult conditions in Afghanistan. We've been living as prisoners for the last 4 years. These inhumane conditions have exposed us to discrimination, violence, harassment, torture. Taliban are killing us here. I've served with the U.S. Special Forces for 17 years, and now our lives are in danger. Do not have a safe home. My children, wife, I need help. All right. Not sure how to handle that one, but I will look into it and see what I can do. I'm not anybody that can do anything, but I know people that might be able to. See what they think. And see if this is real. No offense. All right. All right. I guess that's it. You guys have any more questions? All right. So I appreciate your time. If I missed anything, send me an email. Happy to. Woo, excuse me. If I missed anything, just send me an email. Happy to do it. Looks like one question just popped up here. I'll take care of this one. I know at some point during the pipeline we're supposed to do a 50-meter underwater swim. How do they expect us to pass that without drowning, or how can we train for that safely? We train for it, but we don't do 50s. We do 25s. But you get so good at swimming underwater, trying to get from 0 to 25 yards in as few strokes as possible. Now you're talking, right? You need to learn how to swim efficiently. And I promise you, if you can do uh, an underwater swim efficiently, it is about as hard as walking and holding your breath for 50 meters, which, by the way, takes about 50 seconds, 50, 55 seconds max. So you're not holding your breath for an eternity. But if you're just stroking like crazy and kicking and all that, you're going to be tired and you're going to suck up some of that oxygen. So you need to be able to glide this swim, not kick and pull this swim. That's how I teach it. In fact, you can watch some of my videos on YouTube how I teach to do that. My advice is practice before you go to prep. Don't do it like crazy. I mean, never swim it alone. Have some lifeguards there and just swim across the pool. Don't worry about the 50. I'm telling you, if you learn how to crush a 25 in 4 strokes, and when you get to the other side, not even be winded, you can do a 50. Are there any program modifications I should make training for recon? I don't know. I mean, prepare for recon. You know what that is, right? You got, um, I'm trying to see if I have it. Look at this. Got one of these. Train for PFT, recon, Marsoc Fitness. Not sure. I mean, you can follow a program that is designed for it, or whatever program you're making for your own, you need to make sure you're doing calisthenics, you're doing running, rucking, swimming. And if you're weak, you need to start focusing on getting stronger, which that means do some load bearing and do some weight training. So I'm not sure this question doesn't really make sense because it really depends on what your program that you're doing now. So there you go. All right, guys. I need to go. I will see you guys tomorrow. I'll be back. We'll do some live Q&A again with some CSS critiques and try to get you guys swimming faster. All right. So I will chat with you guys later. You guys have a good day and go kick Monday in the butt. Have a good one.